On September 23rd of 2021, during a Nintendo Direct, famed video game designer Shigeru Miyamoto came on to make a big announcement. The long-awaited Mario movie would finally reveal its voice cast, and voicing the famed mustache Italian plumber himself was none other than Chris Pratt. What should have been an obvious slam dunk did not meet with the response most people would have expected.
Mario will be talking a lot in the movie.
What? What?
Of course.
This is so stupid! What?
Oh, no! Why?
Chris Pratt is Mario!
I cannot wait to hear his Italian accent.
What? What? Chris Pratt is fucking Mario?
In the movie.
Fuck off! Oh, this is so bad.
Back in 2014, Chris Pratt was lauded for his vocal performance in the Lego Movie, which surprised everyone, was a huge part of his breakout year, which hit alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, solidifying him as a genuine movie star. And between the golden year of 2014 and the bygone halcyon years before the 2016 election, something happened, a turning point in the invisible twisting vagaries that constitute public opinion. In many ways, this sentiment crystallized a year earlier when screenwriter Amy Berg posted a playful tweet asking, like so many Facebook memes and quizzes before, which Chris needs to go, listing the 4 famous Chris's: Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pine, and Chris Pratt. And it went viral as an outpouring of people harped on Chris Pratt as being the worst of all the Hollywood Chris's. It raises a question, though: how did Chris Pratt go from the Teen Choice Award winner to one of the most hated celebrities? Did Chris Pratt murder someone like Alec Baldwin or Caitlyn Jenner? Did he have a racist outburst like Mel Gibson? Did he assault someone like Urza Miller? Did he try and cut off Johnny Depp's fingers like Amber Heard? What are the grave sins committed by Chris Pratt in the wider lens of pop culture? Well, join me today as we try to break down how everyone went from loving Chris Pratt to absolutely loathing him.
You gotta love something, you gotta back it. Love is a 10, I mean, don't you grab it.
So Chris Pratt has had quite the interesting career. His big breakout role came in the form of Andy in 2009's Parks and Recs, becoming the infamous poster child of the adolescent man-child, and of course giving rise to this infamous gif. This would begin his typecasting as being a sort of Judd Apatow-esque youthful, immature dude bro character type. He tried to do more serious stuff like his role of Moneyball in Zero Dark 30, roles he even lost weight for, and of course what really made him a superstar was being cast as Star-Lord in James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. It was that role that best utilized his acting toolkit, the perfect mix of comedy and character work, as well as heart, that made him an instant icon. And it was off to the races. Chris Pratt was anywhere and everywhere, and easily one of the most beloved celebrities of the mid-2010s. He had the dude bro humor of Seth Rogen, along with the chiseled action physique that made him an aspirational figure, not to mention his loving relationship with beloved comedy actress Anna Faris. He was even a great father to their son, Jack, who was born premature and riddled with a number of health complications, but Big Dad Chris was there to steal our hearts and make us laugh. It's funny to see things from this BuzzFeed 2014 article talking about the 21 times we fell in love with Chris Pratt. It's amazing how quickly the winds of change can shift people's perception. Just take a look at this article that was also published by BuzzFeed on November 9th, 2021, talking about the 13 times Chris Pratt was called out for being problematic, and that the Chris Pratt backlash was always coming. To quote the article from BuzzFeed, "He feels like someone I knew at some point in my life whom I absolutely do not care for. He's just everywhere, and I'm increasingly unsure if I want him to be anywhere at all." What exactly are Chris Pratt's sins? I mean, there are so many horrendous things that celebrities get away with. What did Chris Pratt do? Was he accused of molesting children like Michael Jackson? Did he get pulled over for a DUI and rant about how the Jews are responsible for all the world's atrocities and use the N-word like Mel Gibson? Did he accidentally murder someone in a traffic accident like Caitlyn Jenner? Did he systematically sexually abuse women for decades like R. Kelly and Bill Cosby? Nope. Let's go through Chris Pratt's list of sins, as determined by the kangaroo court of social media. Chris Pratt asked for people to vote for Onward in the People's Choice Award for Best Family Movie in the election year of 2020, joking it was the most important vote of the year. Chris Pratt likes hunting and making jokes about eating animals he hunts. I really don't see why this is such a big issue when it's still cool to be lusting after Salt Bae, and as far as I know, Salt Bae is too lazy to go and shoot the animals he serves at his infamously overpriced steak restaurant. Of course, the biggest accusation of Chris Pratt is being a member of the Hillsong Church, which is anti-LGBTQ, as Elliot Page so brazenly pointed out on Twitter. But is being part of a bad religious organization enough to make him into a celebrity pariah? People still flock to Tom Cruise movies despite him being connected to Scientology, and Chris Pratt has not been advertising for the church. He's not a poster child like Tom Cruise was for Scientology. And it's not like he's the only celebrity who's been part of the social media-friendly megachurch. I don't see why everyone hates Chris Pratt for being a part of Hillsong, but somehow Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, Kylie and Kendall Jenner, Kourtney Kardashian, Vanessa Hudgens, Nick Jonas, Haley Steinfeld, and Bono have all been cited as participating in the Hillsong Church. So why exactly have they not been crucified by Elliot Page or any of the other members of the woke Twitter mob? One of the core things that started the shift in Chris Pratt's perception was in 2018 when he won the MTV Generation Award and was revealed in his acceptance speech that he was religious and a devout Christian. Here's a few select clips from it, and you can sort through to see the exact moment he started to turn people against him.
This is what I call 9 rules from Chris Pratt. Breathe. If you don't, you'll suffocate. Don't be a turd. You have a soul. When giving a dog medicine, put the medicine in a little piece of hamburger, they won't even know they're eating medicine. God is real. God loves you. God wants the best for you. Believe that. Number 8, learn to pray. To poop at a party, do what I do, lock the door, sit down, get all the pee out first, okay? Poop, flush, boom. You minimize the amount of time that the poop is touching the air. It takes you longer to pee, and then you're peeing on top of it, stirring it up. The poop particles create a cloud, goes out, and then everyone in the party, just trust me, it's science. You are imperfect. There is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift. And like the freedom that we enjoy in this country, that grace was paid for with somebody else's blood. Do not forget it.
Hurrah! Blood will fall from the heavens. Angels will praise the swings of my blade. God will applaud the screams of all of my victims. I am the judge and the executioner.
The speech has 9 rules to live by, and it alternates between the sort of dude bro relatable comedic aphorisms that have made him famous, like feeding a dog medicine and hamburger meat, and pooping and peeing at the same time when using a toilet at a party, with more earnest pleas to know that God loves you and helping people is good for the soul. Even I admit the two aesthetics are like oil and water, and trying to merge the two is kinda cringe. People often say that Christians are being persecuted in America. It's a sentiment that boils up a lot in right-wing media, in articles talking about the war against Christmas. While I'd say it's a false sentiment, there is one grain of truth. Christians aren't being persecuted, but they are a mutually agreed upon punching bag. Just think about how many jokes are made at Jesus' expense, how easy it is to ridicule and mock Christian holidays and biblical figures. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I will say this. Just imagine if you tried to transplant any of those jokes from Jesus to, say, Muhammad. Just imagine the backlash you'd get. I don't think if you put an image of Muhammad in a piss jar, you'd be greeted as a piece of celebrated avant-garde art. You'd be called a bigot, Islamophobic, maybe someone with too much time on their hands would try and call your job to try and get you fired. It's a bit of a double standard that the other largest religion in the world is immune from satire. I mean, all the Jesus episodes of South Park are still up, but the ones featuring Muhammad have been taken down from their respective streaming services. Gone forever from the metaverse of the digital realm. This is why Christians feel persecuted, even though they're not facing any real discrimination. At least not in America. They get to be the butts of the liberal media intelligentsia, and nobody will ever stand up for them. The best example of this is one of my favorite moments from Silicon Valley, where the main character, Richard Hendrickson, wants to bring in some gay Christian coders onto his new tech platform to start a dating app. But he makes the mistake of outing them as Christians. In high-tech Silicon Valley society, being openly gay is great. Being openly Christian is not.
This handsome devil over here is creating a very promising gay dating site.
That's cool.
And him and his man go to church every Sunday. So,
Also a Christian, right?
Why did you say that?
say what?
Richard, you just told a room full of tech people that I'm a Christian.
Oh, okay. But you are, aren't you?
Yes, but I told you that in confidence. I'm not openly Christian. Thanks a lot, man. You just outed me.
The company's not Christian. It's gay. Which is fine, right?
Yeah, no, that plays great. Let's put it this way. Would you want to go from being a rock band to being a Christian rock band?
And despite Kanye's multi-year campaign to make Jesus a king, his embrace of gospel music has not made Christianity cool, but rather just seen as another weird eccentricity of Kanye's musical output. The sentiment of Silicon Valley is one that also exists on the East and West Coast. It's not cool to be openly religious or Christian, so for Chris Pratt to make the public private and openly talk about his love of God is probably the least cool thing he could do as a celebrity. Well, let's be honest, if I was living the life of Chris Pratt, I'd be praising Jesus every goddamn day. So get this, Chris Pratt never set out to be an actor. He just kind of stumbled into it. Like, he dropped out of community college, then went on to become homeless in Maui, Hawaii, where he slept in a tent in a van on the beach, smoking weed all day and listening to rap albums. But then, when he was working as a waiter at the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company, he caught the eye of actress Rachel Dawn Chong, who cast him in a short film, and from there it was on to the races as Mr. Pratt monkey-barred his way up from one role to the next. And remember, this was a guy in high school who asked what he was going to be after he got out of school, said, "I don't know, but I know I'll be famous, and I know I'll make a shit ton of money." It's the literal hand of God plucking up this schlubby man-child ass into superstardom. But saying your prayers to Jesus at night before going to bed while you sleep with your sexy blonde wife on the bed, made of millions of dollars, and telling everyone on late-night TV about Jesus and God are two very different things. Because of course there's the secret fear that Chris Pratt might actually be a conservative, as outed by the fact that he follows Ben Shapiro on Instagram. This is probably one of my least favorite types of cancel culture, the guilty by association. If Chris Pratt is secretly a big MAGA guy, but he makes the important decision to keep his mouth shut about it, then how should that be anyone else's problem? He's not advocating for any conservative political policies, he's not going to conservative campaign rallies or getting into fights on Twitter or donating any money to conservative politicians. He's not advising people storm the Capitol for a stolen election or to avoid getting vaccines or wearing masks. Chris Pratt is neutral because he knows it's smarter to just say nothing. But by saying nothing, he becomes guilty by association. Take, for example, Bowen Yang, the gay Asian writer and cast member of SNL. On his podcast of Los Culturistas, he admitted to eating from the forbidden fruit of the notoriously anti-LGBTQ Chick-fil-A.
We could all learn something from In-N-Out. You know,
especially their anti-vax.
Well, anti-vax, Bible verses.
Yeah.
Those are the two things.
Those are the two things.
Are they anti-vax?
The owner is very he's pushing back against a lot of vaccine, not mandates, but like checking like vaccination status, whatever. We don't have to get into it.
This coming from Bowen Chick-fil-A Yang. I just want to say he is an absolute icon of whispering to me, "Should we go to Chick-fil-A?" And I'm like, no.
Yang just can't resist the siren's call of that peanut oil fried chicken and has given his actual money to the horrible hate chicken organization. Cancel him, destroy his podcast, strip him from SNL's cast, throw him away like Shane Gillis. This sexual orientation traitor must be punished for his crimes of enjoying Christian bigot chicken. So if Bowen is A-okay to eat his hate chicken without the Pink Mafia revoking his membership status and forcing him into a perpetual apology tour, I don't see why Chris Pratt should be so unforgivable for the crime of following PragerU or Ben Shapiro on Instagram. Anyone should be able to enjoy their problematic fave in the privacy of their own home. Of course, there's the recent sin committed by Chris Pratt where he wrote the appreciation post for his current wife, Katherine Schwarzenegger, saying how it's great that he smiles at him, and it's also great that she gave him a healthy kid. But the big crime was seemingly throwing Anna Faris under the bus for his first son who was born prematurely and suffered from a number of health issues. Then Chris Pratt didn't address the controversy in a follow-up post talking about feeling depressed from the backlash and moving past it by jogging in the woods while listening to Christian music. Now this is a tone-deaf response, but this is also Hollywood where celebrity couples are expected to move through 2 or 3 different marriages without looking back. I don't think anyone's protesting Brad Pitt for his strained relationship with Angelina Jolie's eldest adopted son, Maddox, who he served as a foster father during his marriage with Angelina Jolie, but now barely speaks to anymore after the divorce. Eddie Murphy has also had 10 children with nearly a dozen different women, but I don't see him being raked over the coals for giving appreciation or attention to one and not the others. Chris Pratt's Instagram post was dumb and short-sighted, but given how far celebrity crimes can go, I think it's the least worst offense you can have. Here's the bigger issue of why everyone loves to hate Chris Pratt. The fundamental fact of the universe is that we are roughly willing to tolerate celebrities for as much as they can entertain us. The better they are at consistently keeping us entertained, the more shit we're willing to put up with. Take, for example, Mel Gibson, who is still allowed to act and even direct. You may hate the man, but the fact is he's a good director and a fun actor to watch. His movies usually don't cost much and they make money, which is why he can still work despite his numerous personal failings and manic drunken outbursts. People try to cancel him, reflecting on his various sins as a reason why the patriarchy still exists in Hollywood, but as long as he doesn't actually commit any real crimes, he'll still manage to get it passed and find work, because for everyone who complains about Mel Gibson, there's probably 5 more that'll buy a ticket to see him in a movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. Michael Jackson managed to survive his numerous allegations with pedophilia because his music was just too good. The Boondocks had an entire episode trying to call out the black community for giving R. Kelly a pass despite the fact he was completely guilty.
But America urinated on R. Kelly.
Please, people! You saw the tape! The girl testified she was underage. You're not allowed to do that to a little girl!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all that needs to be said is this.
With you people. Every famous nigga that gets arrested is not Nelson Mandela. We all know the nigga can sing. But what happened to standards? What happened to bare minimums? You a fan of R. Kelly? You want to help R. Kelly? Then get some counseling for R. Kelly. Introduce him to some older women. But don't pretend like the man is a hero.
And it wasn't until 15 years later that eventually he was brought to justice in the court of public opinion, and actually real-life court, for his numerous instances of abuse. You know the kind I'm talking about, the no-no kind I can't talk about on YouTube unless I'm CNN, lest the demonetization fairy comes to tackle me for talking about real shit. But that is the great sin of Chris Pratt. He has not been entertaining us. We can tolerate Kanye's Bible-thumping Jesusness as long as he keeps on producing good music, or just take it as part of the weird Kanye aesthetic. Chris Pratt is a man of, well, how should I put this? A man of limited talents. He's very good at being Andy from Parks and Rec. He's good at being variations on that character, being the kind of comedy dude bro archetype that Judd Apatow molded superstars from people like Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd. The ultimate manifestation of Chris Pratt's talents came in the form of Star-Lord. But that seemed to convince the world that he was an action star, an A-list talent who could anchor any kind of movie vehicle. But he just isn't. The Jurassic World movies are not good. He did not make them good. The reason they made so much money is because people still like dinosaurs, and we live in a world where nobody makes dinosaur movies unless they're Jurassic Park movies. He tried to be dramatic and action headliner, like in his roles in The Passengers and The Magnificent Seven, but his main strength is in comedy. The most successful actors aren't the ones who try to be immersive method actors like Daniel Day-Lewis. The most successful actors are people who understand that they look good doing certain things. Tom Cruise is always running in almost every one of his films. He knows he looks great running. It is a manifestation of his innate drive brought to life via celluloid. Tom Cruise will always run. Brad Pitt, another Hollywood superstar, is always eating. In any big film where he has creative control or a producer credit, he will always be eating something. Maybe it's because it shows off his chiseled jawline, but Brad Pitt loves to eat in movies and knows he looks good doing it. It's a great example of how Hollywood stars maintain and control their image. They know what works for them. Chris Pratt grew a little too big for his britches. Somewhere along the way to his meteoric rise of success, he figured he was a real actor with enough star power to attract people with just his name alone. But that's not necessarily the case. He's best when he's working with something that has a comedic element. Comedy is his biggest strength. He is not a strong enough performer to carry things dramatically or serve as a bona fide action star. Just look at his big vehicle from this summer's The Tomorrow War. This movie sees Chris Pratt going into the future to fight generic CGI aliens in a weird time travel movie, but he's not a strong enough action star to anchor the action. He just doesn't have an arc, and he's not able to elevate the terrible material. It just looks like he's pretending to play Call of Duty.
Right now.
Yeah, no shit.
You're finally awake.
And that is the core reason why the collective psyche of the internet has decided to hate Chris Pratt, because it feels like he's inescapable and wants to sell himself as something he really isn't. It's like how After Avatar, Sam Worthington was supposed to be the next big star, but he didn't have the charisma to carry himself. James Cameron used the lack of charisma to serve as his character arc in Avatar, and it couldn't really be used for anything else. But it just feels like Chris Pratt is being shoved down our throats as he invades every project. It wasn't enough for him to voice Mario, now he's going to voice Garfield as well. He was also in the mediocre Pixar movie Onward as a character that clearly should have been voiced by Jack Black. If Chris Pratt was putting out constant bangers, I think people would be more willing to forgive his conservative leanings and Jesus-loving side, just like how people seem willing to forgive Kanye's MAGA hat-wearing evangelical gospel albums because he's such a strong music-producing talent. But Chris Pratt seems to believe his own hype that he really is the mightiest of all the Marvel Chris's, and it's this hubris and not understanding his strengths, and most importantly his weaknesses, that makes him the most hated Chris. Some people can feel when the audience is starting to turn on them, like Michael Cera, who disappeared from the limelight. Seth Rogen started to feel people getting sick of him, then he went into producing more, taking bit parts, and not trying to be a leading man anymore. So on one hand, I don't think a lot of the backlash against Chris Pratt is warranted. I think a big reason why so many Hollywood people came to his defense when he was being flogged on Twitter is because on a surface level, he didn't do anything wrong, and he was personable and likable enough in person for them to want to come to his defense. Because if they could get Chris Pratt for nothing, then any of them might be open game. By the same token, Chris Pratt isn't a good enough performer, and when you don't understand your own limitations, then people will use any excuse to hate you. And that's why everybody hates Chris. Who knows what will happen from here on out? Maybe once Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out, the comedic stylings of James Gunn will convince people why they loved him again, and Chris will learn from his mistakes. I don't think it's unsalvageable. The fact that he tries to remain apolitical is smart, and I think going forward, he'll talk less about how much power he gets from Jesus. Thanks for watching the video and joining me on this nice little deep dive into the Chris Pratt controversy. I'd love to hear where you stand. Let me know if you are Team Pratt or Team Anti-Pratt. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the crack team of Celebrity Chris's who support my work by funding me on Patreon. They are Joseph Malty, Aaron Toney, Carla Hoffman, Walking the Steps, Shonen Ronan, and Eric Duhane. If you want to join this elite squad of Chris's and see my videos early, plus some other fun extras, please come and pledge to my Patreon. Hope you had a great 2021, and if not, 2022 is right around the corner, and maybe that'll suck less. See you whenever I make my next video. And again, do all the things that YouTubers usually ask for. Subscribe, comment, like, all that fun stuff.